Going, man?
Oh, it's going. Just trying to finagle my headphones real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Take your time.
There you go. That's better. That's better. It's going good, man. I was just getting some emails done, stuff like that. How are things going for you?
Good, good. Doing the same. Trying to be
Yeah.
productive behind the computer as much as possible.
Right, right, right. Get that
Yeah,
down here. There we go. So what? You're in Texas though, right?
I am.
So
Yeah.
you guys are gonna be lifted up soon. Your stay-at-home
Yeah.
orders and stuff.
So So what they just did is come May 1st is they're opening most businesses up to
Mm-hmm.
25% capacity, except for gyms. Uh, Gyms
All
and
right.
bars, they're holding off to see how the first 2 weeks of May goes.
Gotcha.
And then if we don't see another influx in cases, then they'll open up gyms. So right now
Oh,
we're
see, I
still
was.
sitting to at least mid-May.
Oh, see, I was under the impression Texas was just like saying screw it and opening the whole state back up.
No, not quite yet. You know,
Well, that's good then, I guess.
yeah. I think it's good. I mean, we'll see. I kind of fear that opening it up this early, they're going to have that uptick in cases, and we're just going to get pushed
Yeah.
back anyways. So I'd almost rather just like wait it out and be able to
Yeah.
open up. But
Illinois
no,
just extended theirs to the 31st of May,
yeah,
which I kind of saw coming. I thought at least they were going to do what y'all did and push it to the halfway point of the month, and then kind of go from there. But no dice. They pushed us back, and that's fine. Like it is what it is.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean we got a lot more cases popping up. Like I just read a thing on the Chicago Tribune. Like we had another 141 confirmed cases or something like that.
Jeez.
Like it's just we're Illinois is still on the uptick, so I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think like Texas is pretty spread out, so we're going to end up.
Yeah,
I think what they're going to end up doing is they're going to open up like the countryside areas first, but
yeah,
we're in the Dallas Fort Worth. We're still on the climb with cases as well,
yeah.
so I think we're going to
Well,
be some of the last to kind of open up.
well, that's everybody's complaint in Illinois because Illinois is a really long state, and
Yeah.
so a large majority of the population of the state is centered around Chicago, which is where I'm at essentially. Like I'm like 15 minutes outside of like the outer limits of the city. Like O'Hare Airport is considered Chicago, and I'm 15 minutes south of that.
Mm.
And the cases and stuff like that are all coming from like the northern half of the state, like the central and the southern
Yeah.
part of the state really aren't seeing a ton, and they're the ones that are really starting to gripe and bellyache and stuff like that. And it's like I get it on one
Yeah.
hand, but like I don't think they understand how osmosis works, and so like
Yeah. Yeah.
I know
Exactly.
that's a poor that's a poor whatchamacallit, it's a poor example to share, but yeah, it's just one of those deals where everybody just needs to be a little bit patient. And I don't envy the lawmakers that got to make these decisions at all.
Yeah,
Like
dude.
they
Yeah.
are dealing with some stuff right now.
That's tough.
So
I'm just trying to be as supportive of anything that comes out right
yep,
now. I mean,
yeah,
I'd rather just knock it out and get back to things safely as opposed to just
yeah.
getting
I
in too
have
much
like
of a rush.
yeah, my biggest thing right now is creating multiple sets of contingency plans. Like I have like four or five different, plans in place for different
Hmm.
scenarios in case we open and stuff like that. And that's what I was doing before all this happened. As I saw where things were heading, I was like, well, if this happens, this is what we're gonna do, and
Yeah.
vice versa. And it's just been really hard. Like just the anxiety of not knowing what the next day is gonna bring is probably what's been the hardest part for me with all this.
Yeah, for sure. It was terrible right at the beginning because I don't know if in Fort Worth and in Texas, the way we did it was like a trickle. It was like one day it would be like, all right,
Yep.
y'all have to start doing this, and then the next day it
Yeah.
was like drop to 50%. The
Yep.
next day,
Yep. Yep.
and so it was like every day we were coming
Ours
up
was
with like
a
a new plan.
Yeah.
It was
Ours was
terrible.
like ours was like a gradual 3 week drop. Like it
Yeah,
was like, hey, we're thinking you're gonna have to do this for the 1 week. Then the next week was like, hey, you're gonna have to do this now. Like, and then it
yeah,
was like the no more than 10 people at a minimum, wipe or at a
hmm,
maximum, wipe everything down, stuff like that. It went from gatherings of 25 or more. Then it went
yep,
down to 10 at a time, and then it went from 10 at a time to all right, you've got to shut down unless you're an essential business and stuff like that. So it's been interesting for sure.
yeah, for sure. Cool, man. So how's this? Now you got your start primarily on, didn't you?
Yeah, that's where I started doing coaching because when I started coaching, I was just looking for ways to make more money when I was training at
Hmm.
FDUSA. So like I was coaching classes, and then between coaching classes at different CrossFits and working with the Penlay seminars, people just started asking me, if I'd be willing to write programs for them and stuff like that. So that's how like my coaching, quote unquote career got started, was doing mostly online stuff, and I've continued that even though 2016, I opened up like a full-on brick and mortar. It started out as a CrossFit that I co-owned and with a
Hmm.
barbell club and stuff like that. I carried on the remote training and the online stuff, and then that's just been kind of just going alongside everything else. And then once I sold my half of the CrossFit and opened the Strength Agenda as its standalone thing. I kind of merged the two so that we have three different levels now with our training. Is we have our completely remote option, which is people who, excuse me, are never going to be able to come into the gym for any reason whatsoever. And then we have our semi-remote. So like I said before, Illinois is kind of a long state. So I have a lot of people that I train in like the central part of the state. So like on the weekends they'll come up and train with us, or if I have people that are like in Indiana or Wisconsin or whatever, like they'll come out on the weekends and train with us. And what they'll sometimes do is like come out on like a Friday, Saturday thing. So we have a different training package for those people, which I call like my semi-remote.
Yeah,
And
that's
then if I
cool.
have people, and then if I have people that live like in the city, that live like on the north side or closer to the lake or whatever, like the gym's only open 4 to 8 p.m. So rush hour is a pain in the butt to try to travel to. So those guys only come in like every once in a while as well. And then I have the full on access to the gym, which is those are the people that I see like on a regular daily basis and stuff like that. But yeah, I started out with the remote stuff and I've kept that going, and I've actually expanded upon the remote stuff as time has gone on.
That's good. That's good. I mean, obviously that's that's huge right now when
Yeah,
borders are all shut down. So to still have
yeah.
that going. Yeah, I was so you know, for the longest time I would only do remote if they could drop in at least once a week.
Right,
You
right,
know, I
right.
was like, I'm not going to try to train you guys over this, but as things have been going, that's something that I've kind of like been able to figure out during this
Yeah.
process, and even more, right
So what
now,
was
is that the remote stuff is pretty capable and does pretty well with specific people.
as long as they have the means to do so? And yeah,
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, like, first off, what was your hang up with having stipulations in place with remote? And then my next question to you then was going to be, what types of athletes are you seeing that either thrive or don't thrive? Because I've had plenty of athletes that have worked with me for a couple months and they finally just messaged me. They're like, look, like remote's just not for me. Like I need an in-person
Yeah.
coach. And I've never faulted anybody for giving me that reason or anything like that. So I'm just curious for you, like, hey, what was your hang up with the not allowing full on remote? And then like, what kind of athletes are you seeing survive in those kinds of situations?
Yeah, definitely. So, um, when I first started, I was one of like two gyms here in like the DFW area.
Yeah.
So there was very few like national level athletes and high level athletes. So I was
Mm-hmm.
teaching a bunch of people and CrossFitters that needed just a lot of like technical work and hands-on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was my biggest thing, is I was never going to try to teach somebody from scratch via remote.
Mm-hmm.
I came from coaching gymnastics where everything was very hands-on,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there, quick, cueing at that moment, that kind of thing. So the only people that I was really taking remotely were ones that were already pretty technically sound, had probably been in sport for a while and were
For
doing
sure.
that, and then just needed some feedback and cues on a regular basis. And so those were the only ones that I was really willing to take on, is athletes that already had some experience in weightlifting,
Mm-hmm.
where I could give them a direction and then they could work on that direction for the next week without any contact.
Right.
And they were capable of doing that. So, and then I usually didn't want to work with anybody that I couldn't see at least once, once, twice a month. That
Mm-hmm.
way I know that so most of my remote, even now, most of my remote is all within 1 hour of the gym,
Oh, okay.
because I like them being able to come by and
Yeah.
talk and get eyes on. So my biggest hesitation was that there wasn't a whole lot of experienced athletes in weightlifting when I got started,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I started our, you know, I really started our club in about 2014,
Okay.
and it just wasn't quite as big. And so most of it, I was like, I have to see you to coach you. I have to see you to coach you. But now I think there's just so many people in weightlifting
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they can do really well. And I find myself now with my athletes is I'm not giving them feedback and cues on every single lift they're doing. I'm not
Hmm.
adjusting things in every single lift. It's usually like, hey, you need to work on this, and then you kind of give them the time to work on it.
Right. Right. Right.
And that also works really well with remote athletes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about you? What was kind of your contingency with remote athletes, requirements, and things like that?
Oh man, I didn't really honestly. It's been a learning process for me as I've gone around. In particular, I didn't put too much restriction on the remote athletes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that was weird, so like when I first started doing the remote coaching, and I'm not trying to sit there and make it seem like I invented remote coaching because I most
Yeah.
certainly did not, but there weren't a lot of people doing it at the time, to the effect that a lot of the guys that were at MDUSA who had been around weightlifting a long time were like, that's stupid, don't do that kind of a deal. Like, you're not going to make any money. Like, it's not going to work kind of a deal. Like, it's not, I don't understand how you're going to be able to coach people that you can't see in person. So I just kind of, it was a learning process for me.
Yeah.
The one thing that helped me out tremendously was I didn't put a cap on video review. And that was one thing that I noticed from like a lot of the other programs that were popping up and stuff like that is they had a limit of whether it was like 10 videos a month or 5 videos a week or whatever the cap was. But a lot of programs had a cap, and that was one thing I guess that was appealing about what I did was I didn't cap video reviews. And like they would email me like a Google file or whatever they would do. They would send me a bunch of videos. I'd go through, watch the videos, make notes, send them an email back, within a couple days. I usually try to get my turnaround time on the emails about 2 days because it was easier to
Yeah.
do it that way. Now I've kind of upgraded a little bit. I have an app that I use. It makes things a lot easier. It's called Gym Journal, and it
Mm-hmm.
essentially operates like a Facebook feed. And everybody that follows my programming is on this app. And if any coaches are like interested in it, like I definitely recommend it. All you do is you just pay a once a month subscription fee, and he kind of has brackets set up for how many subscriptions you have. And so like I'm in the I think like 100 plus is the top bracket right now, and I'm in the 100 plus bracket. So I just pay a one-time subscription fee that I work into their membership and stuff like that. And I can go in there and I can put in programming, I can set it, and they get it all on like Sunday afternoon. Usually is when everybody gets their programming. And then what they can do is each workout, when they go to log their workouts in, they can upload video to the workout themselves. And
That's cool.
that makes everything a lot easier for me because I don't have to have like two separate screens. Like everything's right
Yeah.
there. Like I can go up, click on the video, go back down, go through write some comments, go back up, and then it's like it has like a slider option where you can go over and select the next video. And so like I kind of go video by video, making notes and stuff like that, and then I'll kind of compress it all down into like a neat little paragraph or a couple sentences or whatever, and then I'll hit post, and it posts it just like a comment, and it just makes it a lot easier for the athletes to go through and just kind of interact. And there's a messenger option on there, and then the other thing I like about it is, excuse me, if I got athletes that like are trying to learn for themselves because they want to coach, athletes have the option of their profiles being public or private, so they can go back and forth and they can look and see what other athletes are getting reviewed on and how they're getting critiqued and
That's
how I'm
cool.
interacting
Yeah.
with them and stuff. And then there's a private messenger option on there as well. But between all the other social media things with Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, like
Yeah.
and texting and stuff like that, like my athletes have no problem getting a hold of me and shooting me messages and stuff like that. But the gym journal thing has been really helpful.
Yeah,
And
that's cool. That's got to be nice for them to have that all in one
yeah,
place.
and
Yeah.
it's really easy for me because I have an iPhone. It's easy for me to put programming on there. Like I literally, if somebody shoots me a message and says, "Hey, I don't see, my program for this day," I can literally go on there, see if I didn't hit the publish button, or if I did forget to put something in there, I literally can just go to my Google Doc, grab it, copy, paste it, set it up, and hit publish. And it takes me like 5 seconds to do that. So it's super
That's
convenient
cool.
versus how I used to do everything. Was I used to send everybody a spreadsheet, like, and it was
Hmm.
a Google Doc, and I would write out their week, and I would just add it, and so you had to scroll and look for the proper week and make sure, and it was a big hassle. This thing just everything is just in one place, and as long as I
Yeah.
don't delete a program when it finishes, the athletes have that training log essentially that they can go back to, and then there's a converter in there for those who don't do well with kilos and pounds and stuff like that. Like it's a really cool tool. There's a lot of functions of it and stuff like that. Um, and I'm really glad to find it. And I was fortunate enough to implement it with my team, and they all seem to like it so far too.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we switched over to I mean for the longest time I was doing the same thing, just sending out spreadsheets and emails. Here's your program for this
Yeah,
week, next week, and so on. And but we started using the Train Heroic app,
yeah.
which has a
I
lot of
started
those. Go
I
ahead.
started out on Train Heroic. Yeah, the just the way the marketplace was set up really was obnoxious, and I only did my non-coaching services through Train Heroic. I didn't import
Yeah,
everybody else over because you had to pay per subscription or the way it used to be set up anyways. Like it was just one of those deals where there wasn't really a good price point to set up
yeah,
to like it was just an extra channel to organize, and this way like I have just the two channels and stuff like that. I have the gym journal stuff and then my membership software that I hook everything up to, and I was able to connect those two, whereas Train Heroic at the time didn't have a widget where I could connect the two.
yeah. It's definitely taking some time for me to get used to it. They like it because all the programming's there. It's also where
Yeah,
they can log, and then, like you said, I can go in there and I can see what everybody's doing every single
for
time they
sure.
log a workout. And when the workout's done, I can pull up the data and look at it. So it makes it a whole lot easier for
Yeah,
collecting data because I was never a Excel whiz, anyways, as far as trying to be able to collect
nope.
anything. And then, but what takes me the longest is putting programming in. That's the
Yeah,
only thing that drives me crazy because I
that
still
yeah,
write everything in Excel because it's
yeah.
just easy to
Oh, I do
see
too.
my week to week. You know, it's a lot easier
Oh
to
yeah,
lay it
and
out.
yeah, I have. I mean, anybody who's taken a look at my computer at any point in the gym, like they just like roll their eyes and like shake their head at how many different spreadsheets and tabs and
Yeah,
different folders and stuff I have. Yeah,
yeah.
I've got everything in there. I still use the Google Docs and all that for like to write out like what I call my rough drafts. And then once I have
Hmm.
everything figured out, then I'll put it in the gym journal. But I always have two copies of everything just because I don't want to lose any information.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, man. You want to get into answering a few of these questions for guys
Let's go.
and
Yeah, let's
girls?
go.
Um, So we actually kind of have already talked about this just a little bit, but
Hmm.
somebody asked specifically about what we've learned during kind of this shutdown and quarantine,
Hmm.
and if we've picked up anything during this time that we're going to implement back into the gym once we reopen.
Oh man. There are a couple different ways you can cut that. On a training standpoint, I've been utilizing tempo and pause work a
Hmm.
lot more than before. Simply because I got people that are training in their living rooms. I got people training on concrete floors that they don't want to smash.
Yeah.
Um, Jimmy rigging all sorts of different types of equipment and stuff like that. So I've been using a lot of tempo and pause and isometric hold type work with the athletes and things like that to help them create more time under tension when it comes to the lifts and the barbells and all that stuff and the types of exercises that they're performing. And then B, it's going to make a lightweight feel a whole lot heavier when you're doing like a
Yeah.
5 second eccentric on a lift or, you know, a 5 second concentric into a 5 second pause and all that stuff. So I've been utilizing a lot more isometrics and stuff like that. And I've actually just been kind of taking notes of feedback I'm getting from different athletes and lifters and stuff like that. And what I'm going to probably do is when I start creating more base blocks for people, like at the beginning of a competition prep and stuff like that, probably going to have a lot more work like that incorporated in there, just to just kind of get them in shape a little bit more. Because what I'm noticing is
Yeah.
I'm able to get a lot more bang for my buck with that kind of work versus just doing straight up like doubles or triples or sets of five and back squats or pulls or things like that. Like the isometrics and the tempo and the pause work for like singles, doubles, triples at most is more than enough. Like I'm doing a complex right now in snatch and clean and jerk, and everybody was like, "We're those are low percentages." But then once they did the complex where
Yeah.
it's got a pause, and then it's got a lift and stuff like that. They're like, "Okay, yeah, no, never mind. That 70% was plenty hard for that complex or whatever."
Yeah.
So That's probably the biggest thing programming wise. I'm going to take away from all of this and be able to incorporate a little bit more into the training. But on like the gym side of stuff, I guess it's just it's interesting to me. It's interesting to me to see the different groups and how they view the gym in terms of what it means to them. I have some athletes, and there's no wrong answer in this. So, like, if any of
Hmm.
my athletes are paying attention, or any other athletes do, I'm not ragging on anybody. It's just what people do. Like, there are some people that use the gym as an atmosphere and training motivation, and that is primarily their cause. So, like, the fact that they
Hmm.
are just not able to see people, certain people are the same people every day, and know that they're struggling or going through the same program that they're going through or something like that. Like, that's a huge mental thing for them.
Yeah.
And then I have the other people who just are looking for that constant routine of just having the same place to go to every day to get their training done. And they've been able to acclimate a little bit with having to train by themselves and stuff like that. But being able to come into a gym where there are more people doing it, it's easier for them to stay on track, stay in that routine, etc. And then I have the other group of people who they're just um, that they realize like the importance of the way I have the gym set up in terms of the equipment that is made available to them on a daily basis and stuff like that. And how I don't think like even myself, like I just you don't really fully appreciate a good set of squat stands until
Yeah.
you're trying to make your own in your
Yeah.
basement or in your garage or something like that. So I think those are the bigger things.
I've seen some pretty sketchy setups.
Oh yeah, I've seen some really interesting ones, and I've seen some really
Yeah.
pretty cool ones too. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
on the training side of things and the business side of things, it's just for me in particular, it's just being more mindful of what the different groups of people, how they view the gym and what it
Yeah.
means to
Hmm.
them
Yeah.
in relation to what it means for me. Because for me, it's just like it's a training center where people are coming to get their lifting done, to be coached by me, and to be part of a team environment, or just overall just lift some weights, get stronger, like whatever their goal is. Like that's how I always viewed it. But the flip side of it is what it meant to them and individually
Yeah.
is something that I'm probably going to be definitely a lot more mindful of moving forward. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. It's funny what you said about programming because I did the exact same thing. As soon as we had to shut down, I rewrote all of our programming
Yeah,
to all be tempo work. You know,
yeah.
almost everything we're doing right now is tempo work, squats and pulls.
Well, I mean,
You know,
nobody's competing till September, so we got plenty of time to build and get rid of all sorts of
exactly.
weaknesses. And that's why I keep telling my athletes because people are like, I can't hit 90% right now. I'm like, that's great. I was like, you got
Yeah,
another
that's
three
fine.
months. You got another 3 months before
Totally
you're going to
fine.
need to hit it, so you're fine.
Yeah, yeah. So we did, yeah. So right now we're just doing a lot of pause, tempo. We'll do complexes, so we're hitting a bunch of
Yeah,
positions, but
yep,
same thing, they're not having to go over like 70% because
right,
some
right, right.
people, even though we dished out some of our equipment, some people still only have like, a bar and a few plates. And
Yeah, I mean,
so,
yeah, I have
you
been
know,
writing programming that is allowing people to squat, but you don't need to squat right. You got to clean the first rep, like you used to do in the old CrossFit
yeah.
days and stuff like. Because I after I moved to the new gym facility, I got rid of a lot of my squat stands. Just
Hmm.
sold them because they were just taking up space. We have
Yeah.
racks now in the gym. Like we have a row of 5 racks down the middle, and I had like 3 sets of squat stands, and like those were all rented out like immediately. So a lot of people have nothing. And so
Yeah.
just trying to get creative in thinking of different ways that they can do their squats. And we're doing a lot of doing a lot of single leg squats. We're doing a lot of
Hmm.
clean plus front squat complexes, some tempo work with overheads and things like that, adding them in complexes. Yeah, we're getting really creative with the squatting portion of things in particular.
Yeah, yeah. I've even made them do, right now we're doing all of that before we even get into the lifting as well.
Yeah,
So their
yeah.
legs are smoked,
Oh yeah, pre fatigue.
So
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
So even if we have, triples on something right afterwards, they're not going to be getting into the 85 plus percent. It's just not
No,
going to
no, no,
happen at that
not at
point.
all, not at all.
So yeah, from a programming standpoint, I've really liked that, and I even kind of ended up setting it up almost like a bodybuilding template. So if we're doing our squatting that day, then we're going to go into all the other muscle groups that just kind of
Mm-hmm.
target the legs at that point.
Nice,
And
nice.
so day one might be squats plus, we might have a lift for some technical movement. But then we'll go ahead and do Bulgarian split squats. We'll go ahead
Absolutely.
and do some plyos and things like
Yeah.
that all on that day. And then we'll blast their upper body the next day. So I kind of ended up liking this template of doing a lot of, DPP hypertrophy training right at the beginning
Yep.
of the
Yep.
cycle that I normally didn't do. Normally it was a pretty straightforward layout, and then that layout stayed pretty similar,
Yeah.
all the way through the cycle.
Nice.
So, it's been fun playing around with that and seeing that people can get a lot out of
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
these lighter weights and these different ways of moving. Um, and then from a gym standpoint, yeah, I really liked what you said. It's interesting seeing people's reaction of not having the gym, because even the people
Yeah.
that are still training and able to
Yeah.
train regularly, like you can see a shift.
Oh
You
yeah.
can see it, and I think a lot of it is, and I get more people calling and being like, "Man, I could barely do this. I feel so beat up," and
Yep.
all
Yep.
these. I don't think I'm doing the program right, but they also don't know that everybody else is going through that same thing at that exact same time until they
Exactly.
talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had to post a little bit of a thing, not like a cheer up message of sorts with my
Hmm.
group. Like every Sunday I've been going in there and just posting some fun questions, just kind of keep engagement up. And some of my other athletes have been doing the same. But everything I kind of keep a finger on the pulse of the group throughout the week. And this past week, it was a lot of people being upset that they weren't able to do X with their training,
Hmm.
and like I pretty much had to explain to them like the physical effects of this whole thing and
Yeah.
what that's going on to people. And I'm just like, look, like your body is like operating at like its highest level of anxiety that it has probably ever operated on, and
Yeah.
you're gonna feel tighter than normal. You're gonna feel sore, more sore than normal. I said, and things that never hurt you before are probably gonna start bugging you. And there is
Yeah.
absolutely no
Yeah.
thing to, there's no reason, there's no
Yeah.
explanation for it outside of the fact that your body is just, your adrenaline is just operating at this level. And when it comes down, like it could, there's no in between. Like it is just going to come down hard,
Yeah.
and you are
It's gonna
just going to
come
be
down hard.
you're going to be incapacitated for probably a day or so. And so that's, I've just been trying to explain to people, be like, just give yourself a break. Like, don't
Yeah.
stress. Like, something is always going to be better than nothing. Like, if you ain't going to be able to get to your percentages that day, don't worry about it. Just do something. Just move around with an empty bar, and then go back to sitting on the couch. Like, it's okay. Like, it's an the biggest thing I keep trying to explain to people, this is an unprecedented situation.
Hmm.
And so, like, it's just, we're all going to be experiencing things that we probably never experienced before, nor will we probably ever experience again in our lifetime, unless something like this happens again.
Yeah. 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 I feel like I'm constantly just reminding people we have time. We got
Yep,
plenty
yep,
of time.
yep.
We're not in a
Oh,
rush.
especially now, because the big thing people were arguing, and I would say arguing, people kept bringing to my attention was the AO2, and I'm like, guys, I don't think we're gonna have the AO2. Like, it's too
Yeah.
close, because I compete in the Highland Games, and I was
Hmm.
getting emails about competitions in July and August that were getting canceled. I'm like, look, if they're canceling July and August competitions for other sports, the AO2 is not happening. I was like,
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee, and I didn't want to like publicly say that out loud because I felt bad for the athletes that were getting ready for it. Like, I know
Yeah.
that was also supposed to be youth nationals, and I believe youth or junior Pan Ams was also supposed to be at that one. And it was just like, I didn't want to jinx it for those athletes because they've been working their butts off towards it. But I also wanted to be realistic and be like, yeah, we're not going to be doing anything till
Yeah.
September at the earliest, and that'll be school year for me. So like, I won't be going to the AO3, but then like we got Masters, they're like Masters Nationals is like Labor Day
Yeah.
weekend and stuff like that. And I,
I know because they
I,
canceled Masters Worlds, which was supposed to be
yeah,
in August as
but like
well.
I mean, if I were a gambling man, I don't think it's going to happen. It's scheduled for Labor Day weekend in Orlando, Florida. Um,
Yeah.
that is not smart planning, but like again, it's not my decision. I appreciate honestly the Masters committee and how well I feel like the Masters committee did a phenomenal job of you know communicating things
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
just getting ahead of the curve and stuff like that. And they're like, "Hey, we're trying to get this figured out. Like, we'll let you know." And then, like they say, when they say they're going to let you know, like they usually are letting you know ahead of time. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
there's plenty of time to get things going. And like as long as people are just doing enough to maintain, like when that time comes to start pushing
Mhm.
again, like I think everybody's gonna be ready to go, and they'll be more surprised at how ready they're gonna be when that time actually comes.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's always the fear with athletes that if they back off for some amount of time or they take some time off
Yeah,
or they're going to like have this huge backslide.
right,
And
right,
in
right,
my experience, that's usually not the case. You
right.
know,
Exactly, exactly,
taking a month off doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to get back to where you're at. It
for
just
sure, for
doesn't
sure.
happen. Um, let's talk about. Somebody asked about the differences between block work and hang work.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah, what's your
First off,
take on that?
first of all, I'm gonna ask you, what do you prefer, block or hang work yourself?
I prefer block work.
Okay.
Um, just because I can typically spend a little bit more time coaching the athlete
Yeah.
and I can adjust the position a little bit more to exactly where I
Yeah.
want it. Where sometimes an athlete can have a hard time if I'm like, I want this hang to be at mid thigh, if I want this hang to be at the knee, if I want this to be,
Hmm.
hovering an inch off the ground. There's some athletes that just aren't that aware in the
Right. Right.
lifts. Whereas where
And for
blocks, I can put them in those positions
yeah,
really easily.
and see,
Um,
like what you just said, I always prefer hang work, especially because I always think of things from a remote athlete standpoint, and not all
yeah,
the athletes have blocks, so I prefer writing hang work and stuff like that because I don't want to see people trying to lift off plates that have grooves or whatever. So if they
yeah,
drop
dude.
the bar weird, it bounces back. Trying to jimmy rig, making blocks and stuff like that. I'm like, no, no, no. Let's just do some hang work and stuff like this. I prefer writing hang work, but I see a lot of
Yeah.
benefit with both variations. We it was really funny. We had just finished up a block thing, or a block. Um, a couple of weeks of training, and then we were moving into hang work and stuff like that. And it was just coincidentally we just moved into hang work right at the same time all the gyms are getting closed down. So we just kind of let that one
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, first right now there's no block work in the programming.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, my bias was because it was all hands-on coaching. As I've had to do
right.
more and more remote coaching, I've started liking more and more hang
Yeah,
work and using
yeah.
it more often because for that reason, I'll program block work only thinking about my athletes that are in the gym, and then I'll
Right,
get
right.
sent a video of some like shitty setup and somebody losing a lift with these
Yep, yep.
lifting off of some small plates or something like that.
Right, right, right.
Um, but I do so also with but I also look at them somewhat different because of also all the which is the what I really like the benefit of hang stuff. You have all the eccentric loading as well, and you
Yeah,
have that
yeah.
additional time under tension. And so to try
Hmm.
to get somebody to find that position and learn it really, really well, I
Yeah,
like using the hang because then they're having to go down into it,
yeah,
find
yeah.
it,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
feel that position because they have to create tension before they get down into that position,
Yeah,
as opposed
yeah.
where on the blocks you're kind of like just already setting up there. So I like it because it has that. It does teach them strength in those specific
Yep,
positions,
yep.
where on the blocks it's very similar to the bar starting from the floor.
Yeah, I honestly, the best way to describe it when I get asked all the time, like, what is the difference between the two, or what am I like trying to accomplish? And I talk about static strength versus dynamic strength, essentially.
Hmm.
Like, I think I equate it to like a strict press or a push press. Block
Yeah,
work is a strict press. You have to create that strength. You have to create that tension. You have to implement that strength from a static or a 0 point. And I actually made a post on the gym's IG page about it last week with block work and stuff like that. And I have a little bit of a test that I have people to do is I'll have them do a 5 second tempo pull just up to their just up like a deadlift almost.
hmm,
And then I have them do the same thing going down. And then I kind of sit and I watch their positions. And wherever I see like a break in their positions, that's where I think like we need more block work from that position to kind of help build strength and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
we'll retest and assess and stuff like that. So that's a quick, easy tip for people to check positions and where to assess the athlete should be pulling from in relation to blocks and stuff like that. But like you said, I like hangs because I consider it like that push press. You're overloading a position. So like you have to
Yeah.
stand up, you're in position, and then you're creating that elastic energy as you go down to that the desired, spot in the pull, and then going from there. Like you're already loaded, you're already ready to go, and things like that. And so they both definitely have their benefits. Myself personally, I always lifted better off blocks. I don't know why. Because if you ever watched any of my old lifting videos, like I was a terrible technician. It was just not my thing. And I consider the blocks to be a much more technical lift than
Hmm.
the hangs because you essentially have to think about where your body is at that part of the lift, where you're starting from, where the tension should be, where you're pushing from, and all these different factors. And that was never my strong suit. Yet some of my like best lifts that I ever did were off the blocks. So
Yeah.
it's a weird conundrum for me, but they both have their benefits. It just depends on where the athlete's weaker in terms of which is a better use, and equipment wise. Like I said, for my remote athletes and stuff like that, they primarily mostly do hangs. If I program block
Yeah.
work, it ends up turning into hangs if they don't have equipment. They're like, well, I can figure something out, and I'm like, nope. Like
Yeah, I mean that's
we're
usually
gonna
what
we're gonna
is.
limit the injury.
Yeah, yeah. If I say block work, most of them are just ending up doing hang work anyways,
Right, right,
which I
right.
think is, it's still a good substitute. We're still getting, movement from, this specific position, even though it's a little bit different. So it still transfers over pretty well. Well, we probably beat that one to death. Let's hit this last question this guy got me, and then we can chat about anything else you want.
Sure.
So he asked about maximizing recovery and sleep, specifically for, we can kind of go over both those anyways, but specifically for people who have shift work, so people that work overnight,
Hmm. Yeah,
what would
yeah.
be kind of the best way to go at that? Um,
Oh man.
I mean,
Uh,
obviously, the ideal thing would be that if you just didn't care about ever seeing anybody or talking to anybody, that you would
right.
just keep your schedule the same 24/7 and you would just train at night too.
Yeah.
Um, but that's probably not realistic.
Yeah, so that was something that during my summers in college I struggled with because I had a graveyard shift job that I worked and stuff like that, and it was really hard because like I didn't see people during the day at all. Like I would get home around 7 a.m., I'd go to sleep, wake up at like 4 ish, go to the gym, and then come home, eat, and go to work because I had to be at work by like 10 o'clock or something like that. Like it was just, it's a graveyard shift is a weird thing. Biggest thing in terms of maximizing recovery is just like if you were working like a regular day shift, like you gotta get a routine set up. It might not be, and you got to do what's best for you. Obviously, now, like if you got kids and family obligations and stuff like that, that's 100%. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do, but um, try to prioritize sleep over most. Like I have a couple of my athletes who are night nurses, and stuff like that, and so they're working 12-hour shifts, and so the biggest thing is we cut back on their training. They don't train a full.
Yeah.
Like I only program 5 days a week for them as it is, for anybody. Like that's the most I program during a week is 5 days, and those athletes in particular will only usually if they have a couple of 12-hour shifts like in a week, they'll only train 3 or 4 times a week if that,
Hmm.
and we kind of just pick and choose things that are going to give them the most bang for their buck. And we just limit their time in the gym because their sleep patterns are still thrown off.
Yeah.
And I have one athlete that like the sleep affects their body weight so much. So like if they're not getting a ton of sleep leading up to a competition, like they're gonna have a hard time making weight. So I'll tell them flat out, be like, you know what, just skip training today, go take a nap. Like even if it's just like an hour or something, like
Yeah.
something's always gonna be better than nothing. But yeah, like you just gotta if you can prioritize getting the largest chunk of time to sleep, like you're gonna be a lot better off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like the number one recovery tool there is, period.
Yeah.
So outside of like anything else, I think that's where everybody should try to put a majority of their recovery and time
Yeah,
into is just getting as much sleep as possible.
for sure.
Have you heard of that book, Why We Sleep, Dr. Matthew Walker?
I don't think so. No.
You should check that out. It's actually written to where it's not super boring either.
Oh, very cool. That always
But
helps.
it will make you afraid of losing sleep,
Oh my God.
and and it will make you, as you know, anybody who exercises or an athlete, it's going to make you want to do, it's going to make you want to sleep. You're going to end up prioritizing it as much as you can because
What's the name
the
of it?
benefits, why we sleep,
I'm gonna
and
look that
is
up.
Matthew Walker. But yeah,
Nice.
it completely changed my views on, I mean, I always knew it was important,
Yeah.
but I didn't know like how important it
Yeah.
was
Yeah. For
until
sure.
I kind of read through that. Um, so yeah, I totally agree. I think any moments that you have a chance to rest, you just take it.
Yeah.
And exactly like you said, I think you just have to be willing. You're not going to be able to probably train as much
Yeah.
or as hard as somebody who just has plenty of free time.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
this athlete also, she's got kids that she's got to take care of and
yeah,
stuff like that. So it's just like her sleep is, and especially now that they're responsible for like homeschooling and stuff like that with the parents as well. Like her sleep schedule is all over the place right now with the homeschooling and then her working nights and stuff like that. So you got to get it in where you can, and that's got to take precedent over everything.
yeah,
It's got to go sleep, then your nutrition, then how much water you drink. Sorry, I was
yeah,
cleaning
yeah. That's a big
my
one.
lens, and then the training comes second. In terms of because like
Yeah,
the training can be a good recovery tool. The other thing too though is like, are you beating yourself into the ground with training? Or are you doing more restorative stuff? Like, are you just getting in and just moving around? Doing maybe some
hmm,
light conditioning where you're just like dragging a sled or just rowing a little bit or just doing some bodybuilding type stuff, or are you like sitting there trying to max out your snatch clean back squat like every other day of training
yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
that's
There's definitely things that are going to be a lot harder to recover from than other stuff. So
for
if you're
sure.
someone who wants to train, you know, 5 days a week and you have these types of shifts, your training is just going to have to look different. You're going to have to
Absolutely.
probably
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
spend some of that time, yeah, just in the rower, pulling a sled, doing some
Yeah.
bodybuilding movements. You're not going to be able to squat every single day you come in there.
No, no, not at all.
And then just being willing to maybe get understand that you might get more out of like a 3 day program
For
than
sure.
trying to
For
get in there
sure.
4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool, man. That's all the questions I got.
I didn't get any on my end. People don't like me as much as they like you. Well, they're all any questions that any questions that I posted, they're going to get them all going funnel into you anyway. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw it was just reposted, so they're come this direction. Cool, man. So so your plan is, so are y'all planning for AO3? Are y'all even trying to do, yeah.
mostly, so normally I don't do AO3 because I'm a teacher. And so like
Mm, yeah, yeah.
if I'm gonna do any of the AO series, it's gonna be AO2 in terms of coaching, because like just those take a lot out of me. Those weekends in particular, because a lot more athletes can qualify, and it's just a lot more athletes spread out over like 3 or 4 days. And that's a lot of days in a row for me of being on. And
Mm-hmm.
so I try to only pick one AO series meet a year. So the AO2 was going to be the one that I was probably going to do this year if I was going to do one at all. And then it got canceled, so I won't be doing AO3. If I'm going to Las Vegas, it's not for a weightlifting meet. That's for dang sure. And also this year, if it stays, I'll have Masters Nationals the week before, or 2 weeks before, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a weird, because that's my first week of school. So that's going to be a weird one for me. And like I have quite a big Masters group, so if they're all doing nationals and stuff like that's got to be my focus. And then we have like a big local meet that we usually do around here that I'm actually in charge of that happens in October, but we're kind of waiting to see when everything starts opening back up in terms of scheduling purposes and things like that. And then you got a few months, and then we got the AO final slash
Yeah.
national thing going on, coming up
Oh, I
here soon.
know.
So like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be there. The last quarter of this year is going to be jam packed. Like
Yeah.
I was like looking at a tentative schedule, and there is like something big on the calendar every month from now until the end of the year, and then it's going to just flow right into the next year because people are already trying to plan stuff for the beginning of 2021 and stuff like that. So it's going to be crazy here. So I'm going to try to pick and choose wisely and be smart with stuff. So I'm not spending too much time away from the gym, and I'm not just like running the athletes into the ground in a 3 to 4 month span.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we've usually been doing AO3.
Oh, okay.
That's usually the one that we ended up going to. Most of my people, I've got a pretty wide range, but
Yeah,
most
yeah.
of them are, either finishing up college their last
Nice.
year
Yeah.
or up. So most are in like their mid 20s and up. So
Gotcha.
we the summer one actually ended up being one of the harder ones for us to do, the AO2,
Oh,
because
okay.
that's when they started going off and doing things, and we get
Yeah.
almost had less attendance because of that.
Yeah.
Whereas AO3 is kind of still on their normal schedule.
Yeah.
But next year, AO3 being in Canada, I'm not sure we're going to do that.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this whole thing with Canada works out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised that the one we kept is the one in the Arnold.
Hmm.
Um, I got mixed feelings about the Arnold as weightlifting meet and all that stuff. I preferred it back in the day when it was just a local meet that you competed for prize money. I thought that was a really cool concept,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of annoyed that they went away with that. If I'm being
Yeah.
honest, just simply because for those athletes who are not on a USAW stipend, that was just a good opportunity to make some money lifting weights. Like it just doesn't happen very often. So it was
Yeah.
really cool concept. I know when I was with MDUSA, the Arnold was always a big meet that we did every year. Nationals, it was the Arnold Nationals when Nationals used to be in July,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
then AO final.
AO finals. Yeah.
Like that
That
was
was
our.
our schedule.
Yep.
When I was lifting too, because those were the big meets.
Yep.
And yeah, no, I totally agree. The series have been, I like the series and the
I
fact
love
that
the series.
there's now that we have this kind of tier system
Yep.
and
Yep.
stair step, it's been great because
It's been
we've
huge.
got, yeah, for, I think for retention it's huge because now people who would never going to make it to finals or
Yep.
nationals,
Exactly.
they have
Exactly.
realistic goals now,
Yeah,
you know.
we have different tiers at our gym essentially. Like when I do at the beginning of the year, I do goal setting stuff,
Hmm.
and so like obviously like my upper tier are the folks that are getting ready for senior nationals AO final. Then I have like a tier below them that's like AO finals AO2.
Hmm.
And then I have like a tier that's below that. That's usually like one of the AO meets. And then we have a meet called Mid Americans or our state meet, just kind of depending on how the calendar
Yeah.
works out. Like those are your two big meets, or it's going to be the two big local meets. And then you have our masters lifters who kind of like fit in there and mix and match. Because like I have some masters that compete at the AO finals. I have other masters that are
Hmm.
trying to qualify for senior nationals and stuff like that. So and then you throw in Masters Nationals and Masters Worlds in there as well. So we got like a bunch of different focal points that we can work back from. But from a gym owner's standpoint, the AO series was a godsend
Yeah.
because it gave everybody that chance to train for a meet, train for a big environment, and lift on a USAW platform and stuff like that. Like they're not a national meet. I consider it more of a regional thing.
Agreed.
People who are like, "Oh, I'm a national like lifter." I'm like, sort of. I
Yeah,
was like, you're
I do think we need a little bit better definitions for that
I would
because
agree, but I
me
think
personally, personally, I don't mind that much, but I do have a lot of athletes that are like, you haven't quite earned to be
right.
able to call
Well,
yourself a national athlete,
yeah. I mean,
you
well,
know?
it's more with the people that will post like the medals. Like, I'm a national medalist. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
it was the same thing back in the day when we lifted, and people that won the American Open final called themselves a national champion. And I
yeah,
was
the
like,
national
no.
champ,
I
yeah,
was like, no, that's not. That's you're an American final champion, American
yeah,
Open final champion.
exactly.
You're not a national champion. There's one national champion. It's a I like the AO series as a whole. It created another competitive
Yeah,
outlet for the fan base and for the membership base that was growing well beyond AO final and senior national. So I was really happy with that.
yeah, that was cool. Well, then, yeah, so I'm still up in the air on whether we're even going to try to plan for AO3 or if I'm just going to say, okay, we'll finish out the year with finals and nationals and then just start again fresh next year
Yeah, right,
at
right,
this
right.
point.
Just yeah,
But right now, yeah, our plan is do AO3 and, well, Masters Nationals AO3 and then finals. But we'll see which of those we actually end up doing. Even programming wise, I've really only been programming about 4 to 8 weeks at a time because I don't really know what our
I do
schedule
4.
is.
I do 4
Yeah,
right now. I don't have prep set up for anybody yet. I'm like,
yeah,
guys, this is what we're doing, kind of a deal.
exactly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure.
Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you jumping on here with me.
Absolutely, anytime, man. This is awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
yeah. I'll hit you up. We'll do it again sometime.
Sounds good, man. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, talk to you soon.
All right, bye.